Hi, this is Bev, and we're out at Sibley State Park, and there's a great archery event going on. I've always been such a huge fan of the park and all the activities, and we're talking today with Miranda. Miranda, you're part of the Naturalist Corps. Can I just ask you about that first?
Yeah, for sure. So in 2008, many Minnesotans voted for the Clean Water, Land, and Legacy Amendment, and what that did was it raised retail taxes 3/8 of 1%, which is like 10 cents on a $10 purchase. And part of that funding goes towards like preserving art, culture, and history of Minnesota. Another part goes into like the clean water, so making sure our lakes stay clean and pure. And then another part of that goes into the trails and parks. So that's how I'm funded and able to be here. Is part of that funding goes into the Naturalist Corps position. So there's about 33 Naturalist Corps in Minnesota State Parks this summer, which is really cool.
So you must like working with kids, based on today.
I like working with all ages, but kids are super fun, and it's fun to see them discover there are future generations, so getting them outdoors is really important.
Well, and it's one thing to talk about the environment, and it's another thing to experience it. And here at Sibley, you have so many programs. Can you just mention a few of them that you'll have this summer, Miranda?
For sure, our Archery in the Park is a huge, very popular one. Another one is our canoeing program, just teaching people the basics of canoeing and getting them on the water. Also, kids really like the animal track making, where we talk about the different tracks that animals leave. And then we do a little activity where we use plaster of Paris and put them in molds, and then they can take that home with them once it's dry. Another one is the fish printing, where they can paint a plastic fish and then put a piece of paper on top, and they can take that painted fish picture home with them. And then just talking about like the different fish senses and tools is super cool.
One of the things I've always wanted to try was geocaching, and you do that as well, right? And isn't that a program that goes all year round? Can you do it in the winter too?
Yep, so we do like a geocaching 101, so it's just to learn how to use a GPS and our mini little cache that we have here. But we also have something that we launched last year called Avian Adventures, and it's happening all over state parks, so you can do each geocache in state parks and then collect these cards, little bird cards, and then once you've collected a certain amount or all of them, you earn badges and patches and stuff.
There's so much going on here at the park, plus all the great trails and other things that you can do here, all the camping. As you can see, we had a little bike roll through, lots of great trails. Now, these programs are free. You just have to have the park sticker on your vehicle, right?
That's correct. Yep, just need the park pass, which is $5 a day or $25 for the year. Yep, but all our programs are free, and some of them you have to sign up for, so you can go on the DNR website and check out what programs we're having each week and then which ones you have to sign up for. So check it out.
And get the year pass, it's worth it. We do the Passport Club, and I think we've been to 32 different state parks already, so there's just so many ways to enjoy this park. Well, thanks, Miranda, for talking with us today, and this is Bev and Rudy, and Do You Know?
Hi, Jody Wambeck with the Wilmer Early Childhood Family Programs and Early Childhood Initiative, here today to talk to you about a few Great things that are happening in June now that summer has finally arrived. The first is our WOW events, which are World of Wonder. We're having 2 of them this month. One is a makeup from a snow day back in March. The first one is going to be at the Loving Arms Child Care Center, and it is a science night. And I know Donna and her crew have a lot of great things planned, so be sure to check that out. And then also our 4th annual books and baseball event with the Willmar Stingers. Very excited to be out there and reading on the baseball field. Tickets for that are available at the Willmar Public Library, so be sure to stop in and get those. And that is an event that is for children 5 and under and their parents. And for more information on either of those events, be sure to check out our website, www.candykidsready.com. The next thing I want to tell you about is the Summer Grow-Mobile. They will be up and running in mid-June, and they will be around the community and out in some of the outlying communities of Willmar as well. And if you want more information on where they are going to be and what days of the week they're going to be there, be sure to contact the United Way office at 235-1050, and they can get you a schedule. Or otherwise, I believe they have that online as well. The next thing is the Willmar Public Library Summer Reading Program. Kathy has done a great job of getting together a super program for the summer, so be sure to check that out. The theme for this summer is called Dig Into Reading. And when you sign up for the reading program, you're going to get this great little bag, and Kathy has a whole list of things that are happening this summer, so be sure to go in and get signed up for that. And then the next thing that I want to tell you about is through Willmar Community Ed and Rec. It is our Jefferson Jigglers program. And we have just a few days that are set up for kind of one-time fun events, so be sure to check out either the Community Ed and Rec website or look in the brochure that you would have received in your mailbox. So a lot of great things happening this summer, and hopefully you'll be able to get out and enjoy them. You are watching Do You Know?
Good afternoon. It's Do You Know? And this is Susan Matson, Master Gardener, and Ella Roth at the Green Lake Nursery. Spring has finally come here.
You hope it has.
And Ella is going to show us today some new varieties of perennials and annuals. And you can see in the background there's a lot of color here too. There's also a hummingbird flying around trying to get out of the greenhouse, but we won't, hopefully, oh, look, it's landed over there. So Ella, what do you have here? This looks like a really interesting plant.
This is a Baptisia, or excuse me, this is Solomon seal, variegated leaf. This is the perennial of the year, voted by the Perennial Plant Association of the United States. It's a shade-loving perennial. It will get flowers in the spring and gets about 2 to 3 feet. This is the perennial plant of the year.
So what do we have for other perennials?
Well, some of them are new varieties of old plants. This is the Baptisia I was mentioning, which is the indigo, false indigo, but instead of having a blue flower, it has a yellow one, and it's called lemon meringue.
Now, I have a question about false indigo because I have the blue flowered ones and I'm really impressed by them. After they finish blooming, they get a seed pod on. What are you supposed to do with the seed pods?
Well, Susan, you'd want to cut those off because they take energy away from the plant itself, and it would clean it up too.
So it isn't something that you want to keep a seed pod on it. Okay.
Here is one of the Echinacea series. We think of coneflowers, we think of purple. Well, they've come out with a new one that is yellow, and it's called Cleopatra. There's quite a few new varieties of coneflowers out. Some of them are oranges, some of them are almost red, and they're just gorgeous for the summer. Some double one out called Butterfly Kisses. And this Butterfly Kisses It's a great name. It gets about 18 inches, and as all your coneflowers, blooms quite a bit.
All right, good. Coneflowers always do pretty well here in this dry climate that we have here. So what else do we have for a perennial?
Well, this one I carried last year, but it was very popular and it sold out right away. It's a variegated form of an upright phlox. The flowers, I believe, are a soft pink, and it gets about 18 inches tall, blooms in the summertime.
And phlox is always a good, it seems to last forever. They keep going.
They are, and they're great for butterflies. This one is called Shockwave. What a great name. How about this one, Susan? Tim's Tangerine GM. This came out last year. It's still kind of new. It's the first GM perennial that's hardy in our zone, and our zone is 4B right now, Susan. So it can take the cold pretty well. Blooms early, blooms late, and with the flower scape, Susan, which is bright orange, gets about 18 inches. What else do we got here?
Something blue. A wild petunia.
I know, this is really unusual. It blooms for May through October. A light lavender flower, 2 to 3 feet. And it doesn't look like a petunia, but trust me, it's really cool. You got to get this one.
All right, a wild petunia. Let's see.
This is Heliopsis, or that's a fancy name for sunflower. But this year they've come out with it in a variegated leaf form. It's unusual. Some people might think it's iron chlorosis, but it's a true variegated sunflower. These do get quite large, so put them in the back of your garden, and this variety will tolerate some shade.
All right. What's that? This one up here.
Okay, this is in the Campanula family, and Campanulas are all over the board. They're usually either blue or white. This is a new series called Tachyon Blue. 12 to 16 inches, blooms early, and then it'll bloom a little later in the summer when the season emulates spring again. It's one of those kind of things. So you get a little double shot of that.
Okay, so those are our perennials.
One more I could mention, this is Digitalis. That's your common foxglove, 2 to 3 feet, full sun, part shade, but they've come out with a purple color. If you're familiar with foxgloves, you usually see yellows and reds, but not purple. So it's a fun one to have.
And I see that all of those are has some Osmocote on the top of them, which is a time-release formula.
Got a bag of it over here, Susan.
Okay. And I can verify that that is an excellent product. Slow release. It says it feeds for 4 full months. So if you have potted plants or pots to go in the garden, plants to go in the garden, you can use it on flowers, vegetables.
Flowers, roses, everything. All your plants that you have growing outside would benefit from a scoop or two full of Osmocote slow-release plant food. Also, Susan, this is very important. When you plant, I'd like you to get some of this, mix it with water, and water your plants right after you plant them. It helps the plants set their roots, and they just get a real good hold right away.
So that's called plant starter, all right. And it's in a purple and yellow bottle.
This is your plant food. As opposed to Osmocote, what is your fertilizer, this is plant food. It's a powder you mix with water. It's especially wonderful for your annual flowers, baskets, vegetables, anything that has a fruit or a flower. Because of the high middle number, this is a 959.8. All that middle number goes right into the flowers and the fruit. Makes your fruit bigger, makes your flowers brighter. It's what we use here. That's what we use in downtown Spicer for the petunia basket, so you know it works.
So maybe you could tell people a little bit about what those 3 numbers mean.
Well, the first number would be something high if you were buying a bag of lawn food, because your first number is for green growth. The second number, as I mentioned, is for fruit and flowers. That's what you'd use on your impatiens and your petunias and your tomatoes and your cucumbers. And the last one is for root growth. That would be comparable to your bone meals. It feeds the roots of the plant. So that helps them, like if you had problems with your beets or your carrots, you'd look for a fertilizer that has a higher last number.
Okay, so that's blooming and rooting soluble plant food, and I have used that on my tomatoes in the past too, and it's wonderful. Okay, so now we are going to look at some new annuals. Annuals, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, are plants that are just here for 1 year and then have to be replanted again next year.
I am in love with this petunia. It's only been out for a year. It's orange. It's so hard to find an orange petunia, I can't tell you about it. This is called Good and Plenty Orange, and it's a great grower, likes full sun. Great in combination with colors like the purples. Purples and oranges, great colors together. This is an evolvulus. What's the common name? Angel face blue. Oh, Angelonia. This is a great plant that gets quite tall, and it's a good substitute for a spike. If you don't like spikes anymore, there's a lot of neat things to do. I think this plant is just fun. This is called Iochroma Royal Queen Purple. It gets very tall. I'm talking like 3 feet. And it's in the nightshade family. So maybe if you have kids, you might want to not plant this plant. But it's a really fun one to have. It's the dark purple tubular flower on that one.
As she mentioned, nightshade can be poisonous to pets and small children, so be very careful.
Great. I think this one is just cool. It's called Parrot's Beak. I don't know if you can see the flower on there. It's kind of orangey, and it looks like the beak of a parrot. It's a kind of a creeper, so it's only going to get maybe 4 to 6 inches tall, but it'll spill over your pot. And the texture is like threads. It's just so cool. There's still quite a few here because they aren't blooming very much, but
Parrot's beak?
Parrot's beak. Everybody's familiar with cosmos, the old-fashioned grandma flowers, I call them. They come in pinks and whites. Now they've come out with one that's red, and it is going to be a great annual. It doesn't get too tall. It's about 2 feet tall, but a nice big spot of red. They grow fast. You can see the seeds from them. Save you some money. The seeds on from Cosmos are really easy. Just dry them, put them in a paper bag, and you're done. So I don't know if I can pronounce the name of this one. Plumbago. Imperial blue. I'm having a little trouble here. It has a light blue glob of flowers. We call them an umbel, like an umbrella. Lots of little flowers together. And a baby blue. Another good one for your flower pots. Soft, 18 inches, full sun. So anyway, we got a lot of flowers here if you want to stop in.
Right. Oh, I can see that. It's just beyond your imagination. I just love all the fuchsias that are hanging along the sides. For those of you that have decks or porches or any place to hang flowers, fuchsias are really beautiful this year. So this has been Do You Know at Green Lake Nursery, and we'll see you again.
All right, welcome to the waste treatment plant here in Willmar. As always, when we're here, we're talking with Superintendent Colleen Thompson. Colleen, it's been a while since we've been here. A lot of times these days when the city is not having that odor as it used to, you guys kind of get forgotten about. So we wanted to come out and talk about a couple things here at the plant. One of them is the biosolids land application, which is just another fancy name for spread manure. Tell us a little bit about that, and we'll kind of get a scoop of what's going on this time of the year, and also the same application that happens in the fall.
Right. Well, thanks, Rudy, for coming out today. Yeah, right now we're into land applying our biosolids. It's crunch time right now for us. Spring of the year is. We have a short window of opportunity to land apply our biosolids. But first, I just want to start and tell you what actually the wastewater treatment plant department does. We actually we have to manage and oversee the collection system, which consists of 25 lift stations, about 100 miles of sanitary sewer, and there's about, I suppose, a couple thousand manholes. We also are responsible for the treatment of the wastewater, this facility right here. And then thirdly, we are responsible for managing and overseeing the biosolids land application program. And then as far as getting to treatment now, the treatment plant here our sole responsibility and primary reasons for treating wastewater is to treat the water that comes into the plant, so that to a level to where we could reintroduce it to surface waters, and secondly is to treat the solids so that we can then beneficially recycle that back to the environment. So we have about 4 million gallons of wastewater coming to the plant every day. That 4 million gallons of water is actually leaving the plant every day. So that pretty much comes in and out. It is being treated, but then when it comes to the solids portion of the plant, as we remove pollutants from the wastewater, we're actually generating more solids. So every day we're generating more biosolids, and eventually we're going to have to waste some of those solids. So when we waste those solids, then they have to be brought to certain areas of the plant then, and until they are brought out to the field for land application.
All right, so let's go through that process of what happens with the biosolids, starting at the biosolids building.
Okay, yeah. Once we begin to waste solids from the system, we call that waste-activated sludge. That sludge then is brought to our gravity belt thickeners, which are basically a thickening process to thicken these solids. These solids probably come into the GBTs at about 0.5% or 1% solids. We add a polymer to the solids, which then help to thicken up the solids, or actually pull some of the water off of it. So then by the time it comes to the end of the gravity belt thickener, then we have about a 5% solid going to then, which then will go to our above ground storage tanks, which are the blue tanks behind us here. And then from there, they sit, like over the summer or over the winter until we are, getting ready to land apply the biosolids. We then will mix the tanks, and so we need to mix the tanks, to get kind of everything homogeneous. We'll take a sample. We send that sample off to the lab to be analyzed for, the macro and micronutrients, and then from there, we gravity the solids then to our underground storage tank. And then from the underground storage tanks, they are then pumped into our nurse trucks. And then from the nurse trucks, it goes out to the fields.
And this is a great collaboration between the city, you guys, the farmers, the county. The biosolids need to go somewhere, and this is a great opportunity for you guys to get it to an area that's real close here to the plant on the fields. And tell us about that collaboration.
Yeah, it's pretty much a win-win situation. We're able to to dispose of our solids here at the plant. The farmers, are benefited from it, as a fertilizer and nutrient rich, to where, it enhances their, it's pretty much a soil amendment and helps, hopefully, will increase plant productivity. Yeah, we do collaborate with state officials, the townships, the county, and it's basic purpose really for wastewater treatment and handling of the biosolids is to protect the public health, and also to protect the environment.
All right, it's something you're going to have to add to your list of duties is farmer. You guys are kind of farmers out here too, as a part of that process of getting that biosolids on the field and starting that farming process. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to jump in one of the trucks, and we're going to head out to the field, and we're going to talk to Jason and show you that other end of what goes on here as a part of the biosolids land application. So let's head out. All right, we are in the field now with Biosolids Coordinator Jason Lindahl. Jason, we just had a chance to see the process of land application, biosolids land application. First, before we kind of get into it, tell us a little bit about what you do as the Biosolids Coordinator.
Well, basically, as Biosolids Coordinator, it's my job to get rid of 6 million gallons of biosolids a year, follow all the rules and regulations, and do it as efficiently as possible.
And this is really a super regulated kind of a process because it's just something that needs to be done in order to keep the environment as safe and clean as possible, correct?
Very much so, yes.
And as the coordinator, what do we do when it comes to analyzing the biosolids to make sure that they can be land applicated?
I guess it starts out with the biosolids themselves. They're analyzed throughout the year. We analyze them for pH, total and volatile solids, ammonia, kaldol, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and a whole list of metals. If the biosolids fall into our range that we have to in all of those tests, they are then approvable to be land applied. I guess from that point we have to follow 2 other regulations. We have to prove a PSRP, which is a process to significantly reduce pathogens, and we also have to meet vector attraction. The PSRP for us is met by fecal under 2 million. That basically is 7 separate samples from each storage tank. They run a fecal coliform test. You take the 7 results, you get a geometric mean of that, and basically that has to be under 2 million. That meets the PSRP, the vector attraction, which is basically, vectors would be birds, animals, to keep them from coming in contact. We do injection on application. So I guess that would get us to the field.
Which we are right now, and when we get to the field, you need to get site approval too. So tell us about that process of getting a site approved for the land application.
Well, if I were to get a site approved, I would, first off, it has to be very close to the plant. It needs to be on a 10-ton or greater gravel or tar road. It needs large access points to get our equipment in and out. And I would look at the field and determine, if it has a prayer at all of being approved. Basically, it has to be heavily tiled. Can't be surrounded by wetlands and whatnot. And if the farmer agrees to let me out and to get the field approved, I would do a soil sampling, a legal description of the field. I would do a soil profile, a tile map overlay. I would fill out a site application form. I would send all of this information to the MPCA. I would also notify the county and township officials, and they all have 30 days to basically approve or deny the process. Once approved, the field is approved for life, but needs to be soil sampled every 3 years upon application.
So this is really a complex system of applying the biosolids on land, and it's not just something that is very easily done. It's a big process, and that's why we need a coordinator like you to be able to do that. So when we have all that stuff done, we have everything taken care of, all the regulations are met, we come out and we're in the field and we're applying it now to the land. Tell us that process.
I guess once we get to the field, in the spring of the year, we apply to fields that are going to be planted in soybeans. We're to the field, the tractor operator needs to follow all rules and regulations as far as setbacks and application rates. Like I said, the soybeans would be planted in the spring of the year, so the manna rate for us on that would be about 140 pounds of nitrogen. We calibrate our tractor and honey wagon and basically apply 100 to 110 pounds of nitrogen an acre, which is 6,800 gallons an acre of biosolids. It's knifed into the ground. The tractor operator has to keep track of each load basically to make sure that the tractor doesn't come out of calibration. And I guess that's basically it. Once the application is complete, The farmer, if he chooses, can put the additional nitrogen on to get to his manure rate for his crop. They work the field, and I guess they plant it.
Oh, very good. And the city does own the tanker, it owns the honey wagon, and it also owns a tractor. It's a great way to be able to control basically what you guys need to do. The weather controls what you do too, because it's done in the spring and also done in the fall. But that equipment and the cooperation with the farmers really gets you to where you can control, other than the weather, when you apply those biosolids.
Correct. The city is very fortunate to have a tractor and honey wagon and a semi. We also contract another contract hauler. Our window of opportunity to get this done in the spring of the year, especially, is so short. We literally don't have a day to waste. So by owning our own equipment, we know it's ready to rock and roll when we're ready, and we avoid breakdowns as much as possible, and we can get out of the farmer's way as quickly as possible.
That's very good. And one of the things that we had talked about earlier is that the biosolids need to be wasted somehow. And if it wasn't done this way with land application, you'd have to basically you'd have to treat things a lot different at the plant than you would for the land application, correct?
Yes. I guess the only other options, wasting at the plant has to be done no matter what. What we do with the biosolids, we are currently Class B liquid, and with the availability of farmland as close as it is, it's currently the cheapest way to do it. The other options, we can go all the way to a Class A or EQ. No matter what, they still need to be land applied with the volume we would generate. The difference would be the treatment process would completely change, and it, once the cleaner you get it, basically, it gets terribly expensive. So economically, we're doing it the cheapest way we can.
Very good. And luckily, you have enough farmland around the treatment plant area here that you don't have to worry about, going out further. You have the cooperation between you and the city and the farmers and the county and everybody else that needs to be worked with to get that project done. So that works out really, really nice. One other thing I wanted to mention too was the equipment is such a good investment. Is there anything special that the guys need to use to be able to use the tractors? What do they need for licensing?
Well, myself, I have a Type 4 license. Basically, that says I know all the 503 regulations that the MPCA puts on us. A couple of the operators that we have at the plant also have the Type 4 certification. The tractor operators themselves need to be aware of all setbacks. Whether I flag them to keep so we don't spread around, say, a tile inlet, or they're a good group of guys. They all know what has to be done, and like I say, every load, the fields for us are a half a mile long, basically, that we spread, and calibration-wise, we need to be empty when we get to the other side. So every load, in a sense, we're calibrating ourselves, and they have to keep that all in mind when they're applying. They also we service our own equipment. So in the spring and the fall of the year, like I say, our tractor and our semi has got to be ready to go when the farmer says we can get out here. So.
All right. Well, it's very good. It's something that I didn't know. I grew up in the city here, and I've worked for the city for 23 years. But I thought this was really interesting that this was being done, and being done so effectively, and with the cooperation and the collaboration with a number of different entities here in the area. So, congratulations on a great job. Well done. I know, like you said, it's hard because of the time frame, but with things working out as well as they have so far this year, it's a great way to save the city some money and be efficient in using equipment and all that stuff too. So beautiful job, and it's fun being out here too. You get to be outside of the plant a little bit over here and beautiful Mother Nature, and enjoying our beautiful area around Willmar. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the Do You Know show. We will see you around town.